So what can you tell us?
Well, I was at the scene for a while, and I left. You know, it was pretty chaotic, and I didn't want to be a hindrance to the police officers that had to do the work out there. So I left, but my intentions are to go back to the scene sometime after, you know, police are done with their investigation, and, you know, plan some meetings with the neighborhood, some of the neighborhood associations, you know, to keep things calm and focused. I think right now what we need to do is make sure that all the facts are in, you know, and we know very clearly what happened, you know, to see if any concerns arise, or if any mistakes were made, or, you know, if there's some other things that we need to do. But at this point in time, I think what we need to do is allow the police officers to do their job. You know, this is a very tragic set of circumstances. And I know people are, you know, in some instances, angry, and other instances are just apprehensive. And what we have to do now is be focused and patient, and wait for the facts to come in, and then do whatever we have to do, engage in whatever operations we need to engage in, but they ought to be based on the facts.
Councilmember Gray, thank you for joining us first off, and taking time out of your busy day to do so on such a chaotic day. Have you been briefed from the hospital, and what do you know to be the condition of the injured police officer?
Well, you know, I'm going to leave that up to the police officers there. I think the police chief is there. I know the president of the council, Pete Festerson, is there. You know, Pete and I talked on the phone. He was going to go to the hospital. I was going to go to the scene. I went to the scene for a little while. My presence was such that I thought it would be better to let the police do their work, and I would come back a little bit later. But everything has been, I mean, Pete is at the hospital, and I'm going to let them on that end, you know, talk to you about that. There are some, you know, like I said, it's a very tragic set of circumstances, and, you know, it's not good, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it from this perspective right now. I think it would be better coming from our council president and from the police chief when they feel a press conference is necessary.
Sure, and we respect that. Councilmember Gray, cutting back on crime is really one of your top priorities. You always want the neighborhood to come together, to trust each other. As you said, we don't know exactly what went down. However, going to a scene like that, seeing such a presence, knowing at least that an officer and a suspect were shot today, just what were your feelings and what was your reaction seeing that?
You know, it's easy to get frustrated, and all of us are human, and so, you know, there is a little frustration in me, but there's also resolve as well. We need to continue to work hard to address the issues of poverty and ignorance and other things, and that's not to say that's what occurred in this particular instance, but it is an overriding factor that needs to be considered. This council has been very strong on wanting to address in a more holistic way the issues of poverty and people with limited resources, because it's those kinds of things that lead to the kinds of things that you saw today. So, you know, we're going to stay focused on that, and we're going to continue to be vigilant, but more than anything else, we're going to stay focused, and we're going to wait for the facts to come in before we make any decisions about anything.
Councilmember Gray, we've seen the heightened tension around the country when it comes to police and dealing with the public. Number one, is Omaha any different? And number two, is today's shooting of a police officer reflective of the fact that it is a very, very difficult climate out there for our men and women in blue?
You know, it's a difficult climate for our men and women in blue. I'm not going to make any comment right now as to what the situation or what occurred in this particular instance, because I don't know the facts of that, and I would rather wait until I got the facts before I made any comments about that. But certainly, you know, these kinds of things don't help when you have, you know, people with limited resources, when you have people who, in some instances, really don't care about life or death. You know, when you have those kinds of things, we've got to work diligently as people in general and as law enforcement to address those who want to continue to keep up foolishness, but more importantly, we've got to address the issues of poverty in our community. Until we do that, you know, we're going to always have instances like this, because we've got to focus a little better on that.
You mentioned it. You were talking to people out at the scene. What would you describe as the general feel from them in terms of, is it wanting to know more information? Is it fear? Anything? Just give us a gauge, kind of a pulse of what it's like out there for the people who may have just been going about their day and then came home to this.
You know, I think people that came home today are a little frustrated. I think they're tired of seeing police tape. I think they're tired of seeing police cars, and not police cars per se, but I think they're tired of seeing police tape. I think they're tired of gunfire. I think they're tired of all of these things. So, I know the mood for people who are going to be coming home is, they're probably going to be saying something to the effect of, "Oh no, not again." But these things are going to happen again and again until we address some of the social ills in this community. We've got to do that. We've got a vibrant community in North Omaha. I love living here. Wouldn't want to live anywhere else other than North Omaha. But we've got some challenges that we've got to meet and challenges we've got to face, and we can't do that by ourselves. And hopefully this community will come together and end the stereotypical behavior and do the things necessary to make this community like the rest of the communities. And in many ways it already is. But we have some pockets that we have to clean up and some pockets that we have to deal with.
Councilmember, it obviously is a very dark day for all of us who live in the city of Omaha. And in these times, as you know, your constituents and people who live here look to the leadership of the city for direction, for a message. Anybody who's watching KMTV Action 3 News right now and is listening to Councilmember Ben Gray speak and looking for direction and tone and some sort of message, what would it be?
That message would be, let's stay focused. Let's wait for the facts. After the facts are in, let's roll up our sleeves and do what's necessary to end the issues of poverty and ignorance and other things that plague our community.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you for your kind words. We do hope that people don't get too frustrated, that they can see this for what it is, pay attention to the facts when we learn them, and don't get ahead of themselves. So thank you so much for speaking with us today. Let's go now to Jacob